Psalm 1, 5 and 6. Plans and paths. Verses 5 and 6 read, "Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish." So here in Psalm 1, we see a contrast between two kinds of people. These people are categorized as the righteous and the ungodly. Now, in recent weeks, for a few different words, we've considered the first 4 verses. So let's take a moment to review the main ideas that we mentioned. In verses 1 and 2, we see a contrast in direction. The ungodly person takes counsel with other ungodly persons, conducting his life after the pattern of the world, and exalting himself as a judge against those who expose his sins. The righteous, in contrast, takes counsel with the Lord, delighting in his law, meditating on his word, resting in his daily presence, while following his example as the pattern of his life. In verses 3 and 4, we see a contrast in duration. The righteous person, nourished by streams of living water, stands strong, bearing fruit in its season, and by losing his life to God's will, finds God using him to have a lasting spiritual impact on others' lives. The ungodly, in contrast, is a lifeless, fruitless, weightless husk, who, unwilling to yield to God, has no such kingdom impact. And that brings us to the close of Psalm 1 with verses 5 and 6, where we see a contrast in destination. In verse 5, we see a play on words. The ungodly, who mentioned in verse 1, stands in the paths of sinners, will not stand in the judgment. Further, being counted among the sinners, he has no participation in the community or inheritance with the righteous, and in the end, the ungodly will perish. In contrast, the destination of the righteous is known to the Lord. Now, this Hebrew word for knowledge, it has a wide range of meanings, but all of these meanings focus on the idea of some kind of relational knowledge. The ancient Greek translation, called the Septuagint, confirms this idea. So the text is not saying that God knows what's going to happen to the righteous person, but God doesn't know what's going to happen to the ungodly person. Verse 6 makes it clear God also knows what's going to happen to the ungodly person. This kind of knowledge is intentional and relational. It means God is present and active in the life of the righteous person in a way that he's not in the life of the ungodly person. Why? Because the righteous person is smarter? No. Because he's stronger? No. Because he's richer? No. Because he tries harder? No. Because he's got the right skin tone? No. Because he's got the right politics? No. God is present and active in the way of the righteous because God is present and active in everyone's lives, but the fullness of his presence and activity can only be experienced when we respond by trusting him. His way, his truth, his life. Who is the way, the truth, and the life? That's Jesus. This is why whatever the righteous person does prospers, but the ungodly perish. Because the righteous person is responding to God by faith, receiving forgiveness of sins and new life in the Spirit. Notice God's doing all the work. We just receive it and respond. And this is not true of the ungodly. So the way of the righteous isn't about being smarter or stronger or trying harder. It's about surrender. It's about giving up my plans and receiving the path God puts me on. It's about giving up my dreams and receiving this day that God has given for me to live. It's about giving up my ambitions and giving God the glory for all he's done and will continue to do in me and through me for his kingdom. Amen. So my encouragement for you today is don't give up on God. Amen. Because he won't ever give up on you. Amen. Whenever, wherever, however you are listening to this message, the fact that you're listening to it is the proof that God has a path for you to walk right here, right now with him. God isn't finished with you yet. He has a kingdom inheritance for you in eternity, but he also has a kingdom path for you to walk out here and now. So pour out your heart to him. Let him turn your heartaches into hope by surrendering to his will for you in this moment in your life. That is my encouragement for you today. Have a blessed day.